The morning of May 6, 1937, dawns clear and bright over the German countryside. Inside a massive airship hangar, crew members make their final preparations for what would become one of aviation's most infamous journeys. The LZ-129 Hindenburg, a marvel of engineering stretching over 800 feet in length, sits ready for departure. Her silver skin gleams in the morning light as passengers board through the narrow gangway, completely unaware that they are stepping into history. For Captain Max, this Pruss is just another routine transatlantic crossing. He has commanded airships for over 2 decades, navigating these giants of the sky across oceans and continents with remarkable precision. The passengers settling into their luxurious cabins trust in his experience completely. They have no reason not to. After all, the Hindenburg has completed dozens of successful flights, carrying over 1,000 passengers safely across the Atlantic without a single serious incident. But on this particular evening, as the great airship approaches the mooring mast at Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey, a series of seemingly minor events will converge into one of the most shocking disasters of the 20th century. What should have been a routine landing will instead become 37 seconds of pure terror that will be witnessed by hundreds of spectators and broadcast live to millions of radio listeners across America. The Hindenburg represents the absolute pinnacle of 1930s aviation technology. Built by the Zeppelin company in Germany, she is not just an aircraft, but a floating palace in the sky. Her passenger compartments feature sleeping berths with actual beds, a dining room with fine room with a smoking system. The PR China Animic views that, for the wealthy passengers who could offer breathtaking penor the most luxurious way to cross the Atlantic Ocean, afford the hefty ticket crystal, Haven especially. The technology that keeps designed airlock million cubic feet of hydrogen gas fills the airship's 16 promenade windows no airplane of the era could match. Price, traveling aboard the Hindenburg is, and dangerous. Over 7, this massive structure aloft is both elegant individual cells, providing supplies. Hydrogen is chosen the lift need far more readily available. The engineers, Hindenburg, are confident with their luggage and passengers and crew, along to carry 72 flying. Because it provides damaged, the airship can continue fire suppression equipment's superior lifting power compared to held in Depression-era Germany, it Isium, and who designed in their safety systems. Multiple gas cells mean that even if one is installed, burns with an invisible flame, and an inherent risk that operations. Yet, hydrogen carries cannot be engined the smallest in the pressured away completely. It ignites with, throughout the structure, protocols govern every aspect of the flight, countless safety measures. Smoking. Strict know this sealed, which is why they have implemented except spark. The designers. Even the passenger's shoes ensure no acted to is absolutely forbidden. Urized smoking. All electrical equipment is specially room. Our INSP metal studs, cool evening of May 6th, weather Lakehurst onto the area. All afternoon, conditions are less, the metal walk conditions, ways, create sparks on, as the Hindenburg begins the atmosphere. Captain Thunderstorms have, creating strong winds and final approach to been moving through for several hours until then ideal. Improve. This is standard procedure, and the groundling, the airfilans, the precked crew below, underst to delay the landing. Circ. Pruss decides electrical activity in ocean. Landing a 800-foot airship requires precise weather conditions and careful coordination between the flight crew and the ground handling teams. By 7 p.m., the storms have mostly passed, though the air remains humid and electrically charged. Captain Pruss brings the Hindenburg in for her final approach, following the same procedures he has executed dozens of times before. The massive airship descends slowly toward the mooring mast, her engines throttled back to minimum power. On the ground, the naval personnel and civilian spectators watch in fascination as this technological marvel maneuvers through the evening sky. The landing procedure for an airship of this size is a carefully choreographed operation. As the Hindenburg approaches the mooring mast, crew members drop landing ropes from both the bow and stern. Ground crews grab these ropes and begin the process of walking the airship down to earth, using their combined weight and strength to control the massive structure's movement. It is a technique that has been perfected over decades of airship operations, and under normal circumstances it proceeds without incident. Radio reporter Herbert Morrison is positioned near the landing field, providing live commentary for his Chicago radio station. His excited voice describes the scene for listeners across the country. The Hindenburg looks magnificent as she approaches, he tells his audience. Her silver envelope catches the last rays of evening sunlight, while her passenger windows glow with warm interior lighting. Everything appears routine and normal as the ground crews take hold of the landing ropes. Inside the passenger compartments, travelers are gathering their belongings and preparing to disembark. Many are making this journey for business purposes, while others are tourists eager to explore America. Some are German citizens, others are Americans returning home from Europe. A few are journalists documenting this still novel form of international travel. They chat quietly among themselves, perhaps commenting on the smooth flight or discussing their plans once they reach New York City. The crew members are focused on their landing duties, each man performing his assigned role in the complex procedure. In the control car, Captain Pruss monitors the airship's altitude and position relative to the mooring mast. The elevator and rudder operators make subtle adjustments to keep the Hindenburg properly aligned. Engine crews stand ready to shut down the motors once the airship is secured to the mooring mast. Everything is proceeding exactly as it should, but somewhere within the vast structure of the Hindenburg, conditions are aligning in a way that will transform this routine evening into an unforgettable tragedy. The exact sequence of events that follows has been debated by investigators and historians for decades. What is certain is that in the span of just over half a minute, the pride of German aviation will be reduced to a twisted pile of burning wreckage, and the age of passenger airship travel will come to an abrupt and shocking end. The disaster that is about to unfold will raise questions that persist to this day. Was it an accident caused by static electricity and leaking hydrogen? Could it have been prevented with different safety procedures? Or was there something more sinister at work on that fateful evening in New Jersey? At 7:20 p.m., the Hindenburg is positioned directly above the mooring mast, her massive bulk casting shadows across the landing field below. The ground crew has successfully secured the forward landing ropes, and the airship appears stable in the evening breeze. Captain Pruss orders the engines to idle as the stern ropes are dropped to the waiting handlers on the ground. This is the most critical phase of the landing procedure, requiring precise coordination between air and ground crews to bring the giant safely to Earth. Herbert Morrison continues his radio broadcast, his voice filled with admiration for the spectacle unfolding before him. He describes the Hindenburg as a thing of beauty, noting how gracefully such an enormous aircraft can be maneuvered through the air. The passengers visible through the promenade windows appear relaxed as they prepare for their arrival in America. For most observers, this is simply another successful demonstration of German engineering excellence. The atmosphere around Lakehurst remains charged with residual electricity from the earlier thunderstorms. Humidity hangs thick in the air, creating ideal conditions for a static buildup on the airship's fabric covering. As the Hindenburg moves through this electrically active environment, her massive frame accumulates static charge with each passing moment. The grounding ropes now connecting the airship to the earth should normally dissipate this charge, but the process takes time. Inside the airship's hull, The hydrogen gas cells continue to expand and contract with changes in temperature and pressure. Each cell is designed with automatic pressure relief valves that vent excess gas when necessary. This is a normal part of airship operations, essential for maintaining structural integrity as altitude and atmospheric conditions change. The vented hydrogen disperses quickly in the open air, but within the confined space of the airship's envelope, even small amounts can create pockets of flammable mixture. At precisely 7:25 p.m., witnesses on the ground notice something unusual. A small flame appears near the upper fin area of the Hindenburg, flickering like a candle in the gathering dusk. For a brief moment, it seems insignificant against the massive scale of the airship. Herbert Morrison's voice changes tone as he struggles to comprehend what he is seeing. The flame grows larger, spreading rapidly along the fabric covering with a speed that defies belief. The fire races forward along the top of the airship with terrifying velocity. Within seconds, the entire upper surface is engulfed in brilliant orange flames that leap hundreds of feet into the darkening sky. The Hindenburg's tail section begins to drop as the fire consumes the gas cells, destroying the lift that keeps the massive structure airborne. What began as a routine landing has transformed into an inferno of unprecedented scale and horror. From his position near the landing field, Morrison's professional composure crumbles as the magnitude of the disaster becomes clear. His voice breaks with emotion as he witnesses the airship's death throes. The Hindenburg is crashing, he reports to his stunned radio audience. The entire structure is collapsing in flames, falling toward the earth with gathering speed as gravity takes hold of the burning wreckage. Inside the passenger compartments, panic erupts as the floor tilts dramatically. Travelers who moments before were calmly preparing to disembark now find themselves thrown against windows and walls as the airship's stern crashes toward the ground. The lucky ones near the windows begin jumping to safety, their formal evening attire hardly suitable for such desperate task. The crew members threw out for any way out of the burning structure apes. Others struggle through smoke-filled corridors, searching the airship react with trained professionalism, despite the chaos surrounding them. Some rush to assist passengers in evacuating, while others attempt to reach emergency stations that might help control the disaster. Captain Pruss remains at his post in the control car, trying to maintain some degree of control over his dying ship, even as flames consume the structure above him. His years of experience provide little guidance for a catastrophe of this magnitude. Ground crews and spectators scatter in all directions as the burning airship plummets toward the landing field. The intense heat from the hydrogen fire can be felt hundreds of yards away, forcing witnesses to shield their faces from the searing radiance. Those brave enough to look directly at the disaster see a sight that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. The once magnificent Hindenburg is dissolving into a twisted mass of metal framework and burning fabric. The entire sequence from ignition to ground impact lasts only 37 seconds, but those moments stretch like hours for everyone involved. The airship's aluminum framework glows white-hot as it crashes to Earth, creating a skeletal outline visible through the billowing flames and smoke. The sound of the disaster carries for miles, a combination of roaring fire, collapsing metal, and human voices raised in terror and anguish. Miraculously, survival is possible even in this inferno. Passengers and crew members continue to emerge from the wreckage, some walking under their own power, while others are carried by rescuers who rush toward the burning structure despite the obvious danger. The fact that anyone survives such a catastrophic fire seems impossible. Yet 62 of the 97 people aboard the Hindenburg will live to tell their stories. As the flames begin to subside, the full scope of the tragedy becomes apparent. Where once stood a symbol of human achievement and technological progress, Only twisted metal and smoldering debris remain. The age of passenger airships, which seemed so promising just hours before, dies with the Hindenburg on the New Jersey soil. The Hindenburg disaster marked the end of an era in just 37 seconds of terror. What began as a routine landing became one of aviation's most documented tragedies, captured forever in Herbert Morrison's anguished radio broadcast and the shocking photographs that circled the globe within hours. The investigation that followed would reveal a complex web of factors that converged on that fateful evening. Static electricity, hydrogen leakage, and atmospheric conditions created the perfect storm for disaster. Yet, despite decades of analysis, the exact ignition source remains a subject of debate among experts and historians. Of the 97 souls aboard the Hindenburg, 35 lost their lives along with one ground crew member. The survivors carried with them not just physical scars, but the psychological weight of witnessing humanity's grandest aviation dream consumed by flames. Captain Pruss himself survived, though he would never again command an airship. The disaster effectively ended the age of passenger airship travel. Public confidence in hydrogen-filled aircraft vanished as completely as the Hindenburg herself had on that New Jersey field. The future of aviation would belong to airplanes, not the majestic giants that once ruled the skies. Today, the Hindenburg serves as a sobering reminder that even our greatest technological achievements remain vulnerable to the unpredictable forces of nature and the inherent risks of pushing boundaries. In those 37 seconds, the world witnessed both the fragility of human ambition and the incredible resilience of the human spirit.